What is happening, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome back to another Plume stream. Missed last week. Had a little bit of a minor injury, but pretty much back to normal now. How's everyone doing tonight on this fine Sunday night? Hope everyone's having a good night. Hope everyone's having a nice, relaxing weekend. Here to hang out tonight. To get a couple of settings here. What's up, chat? There's already a bunch of you here waiting. What's up, Timmy? Oh, wow, that is loud. Sorry about that. Should be better. I know that got so loud. What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing today? How's everyone doing this Sunday night? Back talk some gaming news, some interesting things to go over, and nothing. It's no, like it seems like, you know, the doom and gloom is going away, and across the industry it seems like it's brightening up a little bit as we're getting some more releases as we're moving through here to the end of March. Is Xbox going to acquire my channel? Your channel is awesome. I appreciate that. I don't think Xbox can afford the asking price for my channel, to be honest. I really just don't think that they can afford it. So a trillion-dollar company, multi-trillion-dollar company, don't know if they can afford Bloom Gaming, as I will be asking for a lot right now. You know, they're gonna have to wait for the downfall of my channel before they submit their bid to get a good price. Well, what's up, guys? What's up, JJ, Timmy, Dragonborn, Mr. X, Bionic Wolf? How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to the chat. How many people we got in here right now? Been watching my videos for a while. First time catching you live. Much respect. Appreciate that, Brian. Appreciate that. Yeah, I try to go live Sunday nights when I can. I missed last week, and back here tonight, just kind of hanging out, talk about some stuff going on in the news. Yeah, nothing too crazy. I don't have really a full podcast or anything with a panel. There's so many of those out there. I figured I'd just do something a little different and just do a solo show, which is pretty much my entire channel, just kind of a solo thing going on here. But I appreciate that. Yeah, video will be out tomorrow at 8 a.m. I actually put some extra videos for you guys this weekend, just some topics that happened. May talk about those as well. But yeah, we are heading into, and we're heading already in April essentially, which is crazy to think about how fast this year has already been moving. Fastly approaching the release of Hellblade 2, which will be a major release for Xbox this year. We've gotten just Dragon's Dogma. Just we'll probably start off talking about that, because that's been a major point of contention over the last few days, is Dragon's Dogma, and just the entire situation regarding that, and the microtransactions, and whether it is as big of a deal as people say, whether you should be caring as much for it. I've been looking at some of the Steam reviews on it recently, and it went from mostly negative, now it's back to mixed. So I guess people have kind of let up on, I guess, not even review bombing it. I mean, the negative reviews are justified in a way. I mean, the microtransactions are there, but that's just kind of the way of the industry. We'll talk about that to start off, then we'll move over to probably talk about some Xbox handhelds, and there's some new tech that was shown off that could be coming over to Xbox, which sounds really cool, like the FSR 3. If devs start implementing that, I think that will be an awesome thing. And I feel like hopefully developers utilize that stuff, which will really help alleviate some of the stress on the consoles themselves, especially the Xbox Series S. Where did I get my YouTube name? It's just a name that I had Plume, which was what people called me, like some friends called me that. I'm not really sure why, to be completely honest. I play baseball and I was at bat once and someone called me the Big Plume from the stands or whatever. And I don't know if it's because like I was like bigger, not like that big. Like I'm an average size guy. Like I'm 6 and a bit feet. I'm like 220. So I guess I'm kind of big, but like not like insanely big. But I guess because I was like fast or like light on my feet, but also bigger than a lot of other people, they called me Plume. And Plume in French is, I think, a feather. And in Canada, we have English and French. And it's just kind of, I honestly don't know the full story, but it just kind of stuck. And then I got called that. The Big Plume was like a nickname. So it has nothing to do with gaming. If that's what you're wondering, it has absolutely nothing to do with gaming. It's yeah, it has nothing to do with gaming, which I find was it kind of what a lot of gamer tags and stuff come out of, just random nicknames that don't really have too much to do with gaming. Now, I've had various different gamer tags throughout my life. So this one is, I think I've had this gamer tag for a good amount now. But yeah. So Plume has cakes. Yep, I guess so. But yeah, like I said, nothing at all to do with gaming. If you guys notice, I got a new hat. I'm not selling it or anything, but I updated my logo. I got a new logo on here. Because obviously I changed from my name to Plume Gaming from Plume Network. So the old guy, the new one. I like the new one better. I like the black. I like that. I like the way that the logo fits on there. So, but how's everyone doing? What are you guys playing? Right now, I've been going pretty much just playing Unicorn Overlord. It's a phenomenal game. I mean, it may end up being my game of the year at this point. It is really, really good, and it's one I just kind of stumbled upon. I did get a sponsorship for a video just to do an ad for it, but they didn't give me a review code for the game or anything. But that's where I was like, I kind of clued into what the game was about after seeing that, and I realized that I'm a fan of Vanillaware. I've played their previous games, and for some reason, this one just wasn't on my radar. So I checked it out, played the free demo that was there for Unicorn Overlord, played it the whole way through, and then I just got addicted to it. It's a really, really good game. Shane Garing with the 1 month here, joining Plume Pass. I appreciate that, Shane. It's always nice when somebody does join, or I get a notification that they've been a member for a month or whatever. It reminds me to shout it out because I don't ever do that enough. But Plume Pass, 99 cents. You guys can join it if you'd like. You get some cool stickers or whatever, and you just help support the channel. You have Shane again. Wow, Shane, I appreciate that. That's too generous of you, gifting 10 Plume Gaming memberships. I appreciate that. Appreciate you guys for coming in. And Shane, really appreciate the 10 gifted memberships. So everyone, welcome. The 10 extra members to Plume Pass. Welcome to the memberships. And we got Bionic Wolf here with a 1 month membership as well. That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys are awesome. Right off of the bat. Sometimes like like it doesn't matter. Sometimes I go shows where nobody becomes a member, and nobody super chats or anything. I couldn't care less. As you guys see, I call out the chat even if you don't super chat. But then we have shows like this where right off of the bat I got 10 gift memberships. That's awesome, guys. Appreciate that. And I just realized that I have to get this chat highlight here on the main screen. I had it on my other screen. Is this working? Is this not working here? Right. Good. But yeah, like I said, just 99 cents, and you get a couple of stickers and stuff there in the channel itself. So welcome everyone. Let me know what you guys are playing. Let me know what you guys are playing there in the chat. What's up, Whoop Whoop Kid? What's up? What else we got here? I haven't called out yet. Sully, what's up, man? How you doing? Their name I recognize there. Oh, I appreciate that, Shane. I appreciate that. If it's Nice to see the appreciation for the daily videos. I love talking about the news. I love giving you guys news. So I do appreciate the showing the appreciation there. But yeah, where was I talking about? Unicorn Overlord. Yeah, great game. Great phenomenal game. And it's and we're in a time, like, you look at everything that's released already in 2024. It's actually been crazy how insane of a year it has been with the releases. We got Dragon's Dogma 2, a Unicorn Overlord. There's been the Kuza game, like a dragon, Persona 3 Reloaded, Prince of Persia, which is another one that came out, one of my favorite games this year, a Tekken 8, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Final Fantasy 14 on Xbox. If you've never played it, like, just a phenomenal year so far when it comes to gaming. I mean, this has been an insane year overall. We've had everything happen this year. We've had doom and gloom. We've had excitement. We've had major industry controversies. We've had layoffs and cancellations. It's actually been a crazy 3 months in the gaming industry so far, in terms of everything that has been going on. Josh Wall says it's messed up at the moment. It's bad time to be a Sony fan right now. I know I'm playing Control, then going to Weird West. Well, I mean, I guess so. Has anyone played Rise of the Ronin? Has anyone played Rise of the Ronin yet? Because I haven't played it yet. I mean, there's a lot of videos I've seen where people are saying it looks like a PS3 game, but I feel like, honestly, like, yeah, it doesn't look the best, but I feel like Team Ninja games just generally don't always look that great. Like, they don't always have that next gen look to it. I don't know what it's like in the gameplay. I don't know what it's like in the story. Don't know if I will end up playing it, but yeah, Rise of the Ronin, that is one thing a lot of people were looking forward to, and it just looks like it's potentially not living up to the overall hype that is they've been waiting for. And wow, we have Lotus Esprit with a $50 super chat. That's pretty crazy. That's insane. I don't know. That may be the biggest super chat I've ever gotten on this channel, and maybe it isn't, but I feel like it is. I appreciate that, Lotus, with the $50 super chat. That's pretty crazy. Thank you. Way too generous of you for that. Yeah, and welcome to the live stream. I don't even know what to say to that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Other than thank you, I don't know what else to say. Because there's no, you didn't even have a message in there, but I appreciate it. Yeah. So yeah, like Wolong is, I felt like didn't look like the best in the world either, right? So I don't know. Maybe maybe the game is good. I don't know. Let me know, like I said, if anyone in here has played Rise of the Ronin yet. I'm probably not going to end up playing Rise of the Ronin. I just don't have time for it. The more we're in a gaming time where it's like, there are lots of insanely good games that have come out. And there are so many games to play. But like, I'm playing Unicorn Overlord, which is a new game. I played Prince of Persia, but then I just think about, like, when am I ever going to get to my backlog? Is that ever going to happen? Is it ever going to happen? Is it ever going to be a time where I actually get to my backlog of older games that I want to play? Like, I still have games in the wrapper that I've purchased. Now, to be fair, I don't go and purchase them day one. I do purchase a lot of games on sale when they're down to like 20, 25, 30 bucks. But I still have a lot of those games that I bought because I want to play them. And will I ever get to that? I'm not sure. So I'm thinking, like, maybe when I'm done Unicorn Overload, I may just take a break from playing anything new and just start jumping back into that backlog and just getting through some of those games I want to complete. So that's what I think I'll do. As I said, Josh, I'm playing Unicorn Overlord. But yeah, it's been a fun year. Brandon Martin says he's been playing Rise of Ronin. I have 4 hours into it. Combat is really good. The story is interesting, but the open world is terrible. Okay, that's kind of what I've heard as well. And you know what? If you're not into the exploration of the open worlds, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world, right? If you just want to get through a game, going from point A to point B may not be the worst thing in the world. But you know what's probably going on here? I think I moved my chat highlight under. I'm like, why isn't the chat showing up? Oh my goodness. Okay, there it is. I apologize for the people who super chatted for Lotus. I apologize. I apologize for the memberships and the gift memberships. Supposed to show up on screen, but I had moved that element under my camera, so it was showing up, and I'm like, why isn't it showing up? But it was just under. Yeah, so I apologize, guys. But that kind of brings me to talk about Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, again, as I've said, I'm playing Unicorn Overlord. I haven't played Dragon's Dogma 2, but we've seen this kind of story happen before. And that is that basically games come out, they get great reviews, and then once the game is released, the reviews don't include the microtransactions that they have released. Now, this isn't the first time. Now, first of all, so this is from Capcom. They've actually responded to a lot of the criticism on this, and one of the things that is true, that these types of microtransactions from Capcom have been in previous games. Like, this isn't something brand new. I'm thinking people are talking about Resident Evil, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I've played through most of those Resident Evil games, at least most of the recent releases. Like, I played through RE4, it was incredible. I played through RE7, RE8. I played through RE2. The only one I've missed so far was RE3, that remake. That's the only one I haven't played yet. And it's on Game Pass. Another one of those back catalog games I do want to get to. But it's the issue, and people are saying that those types of microtransactions were in those games. I never honestly noticed them whatsoever. It seems like it's far more noticeable here on Dragon's Dogma 2. And I don't know if that's because it's an open world game and so it's much bigger, especially things like the fast travel, where you have to pay a certain amount for fast travel. Although you still can fast travel, I believe. You get the crystals. Like I said, I haven't played it, but this is the controversy right now. And I think it doesn't really matter whether you've played this game or not. I don't think that's actually a big deal about whether you have an opinion or can comment on this, because I think this is like a greater, wider industry thing that is something that could end up not being good, and we've seen this multiple times happen. But basically, Capcom released Dragon's Dogma 2, reviews came out, nobody mentioned all these microtransactions. Then after they dropped a bunch of microtransactions into the game, the gamers got very upset about this, kind of review bombed it in a way, although I don't really consider that review bombing, because like, to me, review bombing is like you're just giving a game a bad review for absolutely no reason at all. But this one, of course, people were giving it because of the microtransactions. It says, well, the game received pre-release reviews following today's launch. It has had a mixed reception on Steam, where just 40% of over 9,300 user reviews are positive. Now, it was mostly negative. It has gone back up to mixed. So people with good reviews have been coming in there and I guess not caring as much. It says players discovered on Friday that there are 21 separate DLC purchases available on day one. Disappointment appears to stem from the fact that some of them are for things that players feel should be easier to obtain in-game or for free. And players have also complained about performance issues and the inability to start a new game. In a message published on Steam, Capcom said it has received numerous comments from the community on these subjects. To all of those looking forward to this game, we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience. So they came out right away and commented on it. But here are some of the things that has paid DLC in it. Now, again, this isn't the first game that we've seen this happen to. Art of Metamorphosis character editor. I guess you can pay to edit your character. Ambivalent Rift Incense, change pawn inclinations. The Port Crystal warp location marker. Now, I think this is fast travel style of thing, or is that the rift crystals? I'm not sure. But then there's the wake stone, restore the dead to life. There's 500 rift crystals, 1500 rift crystals, 2500 rift crystals, points to spend beyond the rift, makeshift goal key, escape from gowl, goal, whatever, and harpy snare, smoke beacons, harpy lure items. So they have a bunch of these small microtransactions. And there's been some performance issues regarding the frame rate issues. It says a large amount of CPU usage is allocated to each character and calculating the impact of their physical presence in various areas. In certain situations where numerous characters appear simultaneously, the CPU usage can be very high and affect the frame rate. And it's funny that they're talking about the CPU usage of this game. It kind of brings us back to another discussion that we could have, and that is the fact of the PS5 Pro. We will talk about the PS5 Pro after, but the PS5 Pro and with these heavy CPU games, is that 10% difference going to really make any difference? I don't think so, but we'll go over that. It says we are aware that in such situations, settings that reduce GPU load may currently have limited effect. However, we are looking into ways to improve performance in the future. And they go on about performance, but the performance isn't the issue. The performance is the microtransactions, the things that they're charging you like $1, $2, $3 or whatever, where you're already paying full price for this game. And the question here, is this a major issue? Because the thing that people will always be debating on here is, if you can just achieve these things in game by playing the game and you don't actually have to purchase them, why do you care about a publisher, a developer putting in all of these little microtransactions to essentially try to lure people into paying for them? I mean, that's the goal of it. They're not just putting it in there for fun. I know people make the argument that, oh, you can just play the game and you don't have to go and buy any of these microtransactions, but they obviously develop the game with these microtransactions in mind, so that there is that person out there who doesn't want to go that extra mile to earn those things. They just want to have it and play through the game, so they buy it, right? That's the issue. Now, you can sit back and think, if these microtransactions weren't in mind while they were developing the game, would the game be vastly different? Probably not vastly different, but it probably would be better overall. They probably would reduce some of the bloat, some of the things that would make you want to buy those microtransactions. For example, you can earn the fast travel crystals. I was listening to other people talk about this, but there's a lot of running around. There's a lot of exploration, things that maybe some people just get lazy about, so they go out and buy it, where maybe they reduce that somewhat and give it a better world to run around in. So those are the type of things, right? But so the argument is, do you care? Does it matter if you can just earn all of these things in game? And I think it does. I think it really does matter. I mean, we've seen this happen before. But before we continue here, we do need to shout out Matthew with the Titan Up. Let's go. Titans just made a great trade for Sneed yesterday, bolstering their secondary. I mean, Titans, they had a terrible season. They had tons of, I was really skeptical and angry at the firing of Mike Vrabel. And now we're getting to football talk here. But this GM the GM that they have right now is actually doing, it looks like has had a great offseason. I'm actually extremely excited about the Titans this upcoming year. I think that they could be competing for a playoff spot, maybe even competing for the division again this year, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, appreciate that, Matthew, with the $2 super chat on there with the Titan Up. But again, back to Dragon's Dogma. The microtransactions, if you can earn them all in game, why does it matter? Well, we've seen multiple examples of this. We've seen Assassin's Creed get just raked over the coals for what they have in terms of microtransactions within their games. I believe it was Odyssey, which was the real big one there that had a lot of people push up against it, because you could get double XP. You could increase the way that you advance in the game, all those things. People were against that. You didn't need to use it. Like, I've played through Origins, I've played through Odyssey, I've played through Valhalla. I have never once spent a single dime on one of those in-store microtransactions for the game. I've bought in the bigger DLC, like the Dawn of Ragnarok. I bought that one for Valhalla, which was a really cool DLC, but I've never once bought those little microtransactions, and I've played through the whole game. So they started with that, and then you think of something like GT7, which was notorious. I mean, that one was the worst out of them all, my opinion, because it was completely removed from all the reviewers. And then all of a sudden the game drops and all the microtransactions are in there. Got Brandon Martin here with the $2 super chat saying, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I can't say I'm a fan, Brandon. I can't not say I'm a fan, especially after you guys took AJ Brown. And yeah, I don't know why the Titans never signed AJ Brown, but it looks like they could be bouncing back this offseason based off of what they've been doing. But yeah, the Eagles are a good squad, though. I'll give you that. So when it comes to these microtransactions, GT7 I think is one of the worst. And then you have Dragon's Dogma here. Now, by all accounts, Dragon's Dogma is still a good game. I don't think that these microtransactions make it a bad game. What I think it does though is that all the people out there who bought it day one, who didn't know that these were in there. I mean, you can't really fault a lot of people who went out and purchased like the deluxe editions or whatever. It's a sense of signal, if people are buying all these games at full price, that these publishers can literally get away with putting these microtransactions on top of a full price game, which I don't think is a good thing. We saw like the whole debacle and pushback against EA with the loot boxes. I know it's a little bit different because you are gambling and you don't know what you're getting, but all of these small little microtransactions to do little things within these games that should all be available, like should all be there in an easy way, not be added in on as a price. We may continue to see more and more of that, especially from what we have seen with this industry, with how expensive it's been getting to develop these games. There's that question of, will these developers continue to try to monetize more and more of the same people? I mean, Phil Spencer had a really good quote on this. Wonder if I can find it quickly. He had a very, very good quote on this. And basically it was like, when the whole thing happened about the games going over to PlayStation, he was asked something along the lines of why or whatever, and he was basically saying, we can either continue to monetize the same people over and over again, or we can try to expand our audience and make more money that way by getting more people to go out, buy and purchase our games and play on Xbox, or play in the Xbox ecosystem, or play an Xbox game, whether that is on a PlayStation 5 or not. And I think this type of stuff is kind of the same thing. It is Capcom out here realizing that they need to make their money back on this game. They need to have good profit margins. And how are they going to do it when it is a finite audience? They know they probably have a good estimate of the amount of people that are going to pick up this game. They have to keep monetizing the same people over and over again. And that's something we may continue to see in this industry with other games that do come out, unless there is that change that we get cheaper games, like 60, no, I guess, what are they, 70 now? So $50 games or so, and they're smaller AA games that are less costly to develop, and they're just a complete package all in one. Kind of going back to, I mean, to me, the golden age of gaming, when that was the case for every single game that did come out. There was no day one updates, no day one downloads, no patches to come in later down the road because to fix the game that was broken. You got a full package and a full game, and those were the glory days. And you think about a game like Prince of Persia that just came out, The Lost Crown, side scroller, action platformer, Metroidvania game, smaller game from Ubisoft. Didn't sell as well as they probably wanted, which is like an unfortunate thing, but that game came out in a great shape, and there was no real big microtransactions. You played through that whole game, you had a full package all in one, and in fact they're even giving free DLC, and I feel like we got to see more of that going forward to alleviate this like stress and cost of this just insane amount cost to develop these big AAA games. One thing I will say, however, though, with Capcom is although this is for a lot of people, this looks really bad on them. They have been that one major publisher that has put out banger after banger, and they have been that one publisher that has not made these major cutbacks in their company. In fact, they have gone out and raised the wages of their employees. So they are the publisher kind of standing above the rest right now, I would say, in terms of the shifts that are going on in the industry. But I think, again, this was such a great game from the critical standpoint. It's a shame that they decided to bloat it with all these microtransactions to take away from what more than likely, again, I haven't played it, but from everything I've seen, is a phenomenal RPG. And if you go down to, like, I'm looking at some of the reviews here, and people are just very upset about this. I get here to some mixed reviews. Like, people are talking about the performance. They say, this person says, I was fully intent on refunding the game if it ran like shit, but as it turns out, I'm one of the lucky ones who can say it runs good enough on the machine. 60 plus FPS in the wilderness, shaky 30 FPS in the city. They go on to talk about the performance. See you guys at a 50% sale. Someone said they added de novo. They say it's $70 to $80 single player RPG that only allows for one save file and no means to delete it in game or start a new one. Like, that's kind of weird, and I didn't know that it only allowed one save file. Yeah, so there's just a lot of complaints about this overall. And that is the other question that this game does bring up, is because a lot of people we've been talking about 60 FPS, 60 FPS, 60 FPS, right? All the outrage about games like Gotham Knights, all the outrage about games like Starfield. It seems like Dragon's Dogma 2 gets an overall pass on the console. I haven't seen too much outrage about the FPS here on Dragon's Dogma 2. Do people truly care about that 60 FPS, or is it just a convenience? Is it just a convenient outrage point when it goes against a game that is against a platform that they don't like? That's the question, because I really have not seen that outrage. Now, from what I understand, in Dragon's Dogma 2, it's unlocked, but the frame rate just isn't great on the console versions of this game. So that's another thing. That's an interesting thing to look at. Now, me personally, yes, I want that performance, but I want that 60 frames per second. Will I play 30 FPS? I will play 30 FPS. I will. I'm not going to sit here and say that I won't do that. I mean, I played through Starfield on the Series X, and I actually thought the Starfield was fine. It would have been better in 60, of course, but I did enjoy Starfield in 30 FPS. It didn't really hurt my experience. So but I can totally get if people won't buy a game that isn't 30. If they're so used to 60 now, especially if you've played all for a couple of years now, all in 60 frames per second, it is definitely hard to go back. But we just haven't seen that same outrage on Dragon's Dogma 2. Will I play Dragon's Dogma 2? Yes, absolutely. It looks like a game I will love, but I'm gonna wait for that sale. And that's what I would suggest. That's my suggestion. If you're asking me, that's my suggestion for everyone out there. Don't buy this game at full price. Just wait till it goes on sale. If you haven't already bought it at this point, if you're wondering, should I buy Dragon's Dogma 2? I would wait. And I would wait, not because it's a bad game. I would wait just to not send that message that, hey, we are okay with all of these microtransactions in games, because we're going to continue to see that. It sends a signal. If they make a ton of money, we're going to see more of that from games going forward, which, I mean, we've seen it in the past, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole thing, especially if it does end up affecting the actual overall quality of the game. And if somebody in the chat has played it, I'm very curious about the whole fast travel thing, because I was just listening to the Gamers Council podcast before I jumped on here, and I believe it was Retri who said that he's although you don't have to pay for the crystals to fast travel, there is a lot of running, like, for a long time to get to where you want to go. And I wonder if anyone else has also had that experience, because to me, it's like that obviously is a design decision if that is the case. And yeah, you could say, oh, because they want you to explore the open world. But if they're making the running from one point to another just so lengthy that doesn't really make sense, it's probably because they want to try to get you into picking up those microtransactions, because you'll eventually just get annoyed of it. But that's something, if you guys have played it, let me know if you've had that same experience. Fast travel has never been something you do very often. That's fair. And if you just like exploring the whole thing, for sure. I feel like for me, fast travel is not something I do until after I've like put in many hours into the game and done some exploration, and then I just kind of get tired. Like if I'm like 15 hours, 20 hours into a game, and I feel like I've explored enough, or 30 hours, whatever. I don't know how many hours, but if I feel like I've explored enough, I do want to fast travel to certain locations. So the fast travel is the same as the first game. It's very limited. You receive port crystals that you can place and move around for fast travel. Okay. That's fair. Didn't the developer say if you need to fast travel, the game is boring or something like that? But if they have made long distances and then gave the option to pay real money to fast travel, it's a scam. That's what I'm thinking too, Sully. It's like, yeah, they obviously designed this game with those microtransactions in mind. There's no way this was like an afterthought. As they were going through and designing it, there is that part of it that seeps into it. The business side of it seeps into it. And that's, I think, the biggest issue for this type of stuff is that I just don't want that in seeping into the development of games. I don't want that monetary side of those microtransactions. If you're already paying, if they're charging you $70 for this thing, I don't want that, those little microtransactions trying to seep in there and get into people's minds that, hey, it's okay. Like if you are just, you're tired, you know, you still want to play, but you don't feel like running for 10 minutes to get to where you want to go, just spend $2. It's just $2. It's not a big deal, right? But then $2 becomes $4 and $6 and $100, and then by the time you're done the game, you've spent like $300 on the standard edition of Dragon's Dogma 2. And I'm kind of weird because I spend money on collector's editions, and I love collector's editions. I have statues. You can see kind of about, well, I don't know if you can see it now, but in the top shelf there, I have some statues. Like I have Mortal Kombat 1, I have Resident Evil 4, but like I'll spend over $100, no problem. I'll spend over $150 for certain games that I just want to get those collector's editions, but I will never spend $2 on a microtransaction. It's just like, I don't know, it's just the weird way my brain works. And maybe it's just like old school stuff because they've had collector's editions since I've been gaming. They've had collector's editions forever. So maybe it's like, I feel, and I find $2 on a in-game item. For me, I'm not the type of person that cares too much about like buying the cool skins for my character. I find spending like $2 or $5 or something on a skin, a digital skin for my character, I just not for me. JJ saying 117 with the 199 super chat, appreciate that. Says another bad game was Star Wars Battlefront Collection. Yeah, that's another one that I've heard where they kind of messed up the servers for online, or at least the Switch version has been really bad. That is a game that I absolutely want to play and I will be picking up, but I am again going to wait until that one goes on sale. I have way too many games. One thing I've kind of decided this year after Unicorn Overlord is I'm going to start waiting now. And I got to get through my backlog. I have so many games I want to play. And then I think about all the games dropping into Game Pass. It's like, I won't get to any of this stuff if I just keep picking up a game that wasn't in my backlog and start playing it. So I really just going to start really diving into my backlog and jumping into that stuff. And as well as playing the Game Pass stuff, the first party Xbox games that do drop day one. So that's kind of where after Unicorn Overlord is where I think I'm going to be going. Like I have 360 games that I want to play. Like I'm also playing on the side Binary Domain, which I'm like halfway through. I should be able to finish that in 1 or 2 sittings, but I want to actually finish it now when I'm done Unicorn. I just keep going back and playing Unicorn. I got Bionic Wolf here gifting 2 memberships. It looks like 2 notifications here gifting of 1 gift, but that means 1 + 1 = 2. I appreciate that, Bionic Wolf gifting the Plume Gaming membership. Plume Gaming membership, 99 cents. It just helps the channel and you get some cool stickers on with that. So I do appreciate that, Bionic Wolf, and anyone else out there in the chat who's interested in joining Plume Gaming. Yeah, and we're already in March, and I already have 2 game of the years for me that I think are very good, or should get some sort of award, which was Prince of Persia, and then Unicorn Overlord. Then you get stuck in the backlog loop. That is absolutely true. Getting stuck in the backlog loop is another thing. Like I thought about this the other day. If there was not another game to come out ever again starting tomorrow, not another new game, I would have more than enough games to be able to keep me, like, I have a game to play until do I want to say until the day I die? I don't know. For many years. Like, I have so many games to play. So there's just too much. For $2, you can have a blast with Just Cause 2 and Metro 2033/Last Light. That's a great point too. Think about the amount of games. Think about the amount of money some people spend on microtransactions, and then the amount of other games that they could go out and buy. So yeah, that's why to me, Game of the Year Peppa or Princess. So that's the Dragon's Dogma 2 talk. That's one thing I just wanted to talk about because that's been a big point of contention over the last couple of days. And again, it's unfortunate that that's this conversation that has taken over, because by all accounts, this looks like a phenomenal RPG that I am going to eventually be playing. It just sucks that Capcom had to kind of sour the release of it with all of those microtransactions in there. Just Cause is, yeah, it is an amazing series. But there's a couple of other things here. I talked about this yesterday. This is actually pretty cool. But I want to get a feel from you guys. Do you guys still believe in the Xbox tools? Because I think a lot of people are losing hope in developers actually utilizing these tools. And it looks like they are getting another tool, or at least an upgrade to the tool, which is FSR 3 and frame generation hitting the Xbox Series X. And it could potentially be hitting with the debut of Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, a huge release this year for Xbox. I know PlayStation fans out there are really still hoping that Phil Spencer comes on stage and says that it is coming to PlayStation. I don't believe it will be, but this is going to be a massive release that we didn't really even know about or see coming this year, at least, until they had their showcase, until they had their event, the Developer Direct, earlier this year. Hope we get another Developer Direct as well. I know we're going to get the summer showcase, which we're probably not going to have anything between now and then, but hopefully we get another Developer Direct near the end of the year to kind of help us look forward to 2025. Crazy, we're already going into 2025 next year. This generation has just flown by. But AMD announced FSR 3.1, and I talked about this in my video, but if you don't know what FSR 3.1 is, basically they say here, FSR 3.1 was announced at GDC 2024. FSR 3.1 brings 2 significant updates: an improvement to upscaling image quality and the ability for FSR's frame generation technology to work with other upscaling solutions like NVIDIA's DLSS or Intel's XeSS. And I think that's a big thing for PC gamers as well, because previously DLSS 3 frame generation was only limited to the RTX 40 series GPUs. So if you had a 30 series, which obviously a lot of people still have, you didn't get that. But with FSR 3.1, you're actually going to be able to get that technology with a 30 series GPU, which is very nice. It says, with FSR 3's frame generation improving, pairing it with DLSS upscaling is very cool, of course. And some of the games that they are confirming that it's going to be working with: Cyberpunk 2077, Dragon's Dogma 2, Dying Lights 2, Stay Human, Frostpunk 2, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Naraka Blade Point, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, which is one of my most it's up there as my most anticipated game this year. That Warhammer game, Space Marine 2. I love Space Marine 1. And it was just such a random game for me. I just picked it up on the 360 when it came out, not expecting that much, and the game blew me away. So I can't wait for Space Marine 2. It looks phenomenal. But the cool thing here from the console perspective, and to full transparency, I know there's always that conversation of like influencers. I don't really consider myself an influencer, but I have to realize that people watch my videos and they listen to things I say. So I guess you could consider me an influencer. I don't really do, because I just kind of report news, but influencers, Xbox people, I talk about everything, but I play mainly on my Xbox console. I still only have a 2080 in my PC. I play on my Xbox console, and I'm not bullshitting people when I say that. I truly play on my Series X and my Series S, because my 2080, although you could say is more powerful than my X, I'm not getting 60 frames per second on the games that Xbox can't do the 60 frames per second on. And it's just not, it's honestly just essentially the same experience. So I love just the console experience. I actually do play on my Xbox consoles. I know it's maybe hard to believe, but it is true. So it's exciting that this technology is coming over to Xbox. And I'm really hoping that these developers utilize these tools. But why is it coming over to Xbox, right? Well, it's because they say AMD has also included support for the Vulkan API and Xbox in the update. So that's what I guess was needed to be able to utilize this technology, the Vulkan API, which wasn't there, and now it is there. They say specifically the Xbox Game Development Kit support, although FSR 3 upscaling and frame generation have been available on PC for a while, they have yet to make their console debut. Sorry, I just got a message here. I gotta respond to. And it goes here, the new FSR 3.1 update only hints at the update arriving later this year, but mentioning Vulkan and Xbox in the same sentence does suggest that we might see its support in Xbox's big first-party holiday release, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for Machine Games and Bethesda. And why would this happen? Again, it's because of the Vulkan API being added in there. Specifically here, saying the id on PC supports DLSS and ray tracing via the Vulkan API, even though Xbox is purely a DirectX machine with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle launching on PC and Xbox. The only way it can support FSR 3 on both platforms is with FSR adding Vulkan and Xbox support, which is exactly what AMD has done with FSR 3.1. So I think this is great. I hope developers actually use it, and I hope at least the first party Xbox developers use it, because if they don't, that's like kind of ridiculous if they're not implementing all of these great tools to help make their console run better and games run better and all that type of stuff, especially with the rumors right now that we are hearing, and essentially is going to come true, that the PS5 Pro is coming out. And one of the biggest things with the PS5 Pro is they have their own PSSR technology. But before we jump into that, Lotus, you're too generous, my man. You're way too generous here. Got another $50 super chat here from Lotus Esprit. I mean, I don't know what to say other than I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And thank you for the support. I'm lost for words. That's two $50 super chats there. Appreciate that, Lotus. Yeah. And if you have anything you want to say in the super chat, go ahead. I will read it out, because again, there's nothing there's nothing there other than that picture, but I appreciate that, Lotus. So the big thing here for the PS5 Pro is, which I think is bigger than all of these like hardware updates. Of course, yes, they say a 45% boost in the PS5 Pro from the GPU and only a 10% boost in the CPU, which goes kind of back to with Dragon's Dogma 2. One of the things holding that game back in terms of the performance is how CPU heavy it is. I mean, you even had Capcom coming out and saying that. So you're not going to see a game like Dragon's Dogma 2 on the PS5 Pro all of a sudden running at the 60 frames per second smoothly. 4K 60 frames per second is just not going to happen with just a 10% CPU boost. But where something could come in here and help improve it will be the PSSR, the AI upscaling that PlayStation 5 Pro is going to have. We don't know what that is all about. But that's where something like FSR 3.1 comes in. And if devs can use that on the Xbox Series X, like how much of a difference are we actually going to see between the Series X and the PS5 Pro? Like, I don't think it's going to be that massive of a difference. And that's the funny thing here, where it's like, why is there a need for a PlayStation 5 Pro at this point, especially if they're only doing that 10% upgrade to the CPU, when I personally believe that it's these things here, these software solutions going forward into the next generation as well, that are going to be the major game changer, and the big difference where we see these performance boosts and devs utilizing these things to get better, to get the games looking and feeling better on these consoles. So, and it's another reason why I think when people ask, why do we need these consoles? We haven't seen the full potential out of the Series X and even the PS5. I don't think we have. I don't think we really have. I think there's a lot more that can be done with the Series X if these things like FSR 3.1 frame generation are utilized in these games. And I'm not a developer. I don't know how hard it is to implement this stuff. I don't know if it takes a lot more development time and all that stuff. So maybe it does. Maybe that's why they don't do it. Or is it maybe because stuff like this wasn't available on the PlayStation 5, so they didn't even waste time doing that because they didn't want to add in that extra time to optimize it on just the Xbox. But now with the PS5 Pro, if it does have this type of technology, maybe it'll be more incentive for these developers to actually utilize something like FSR 3.1 on the Xbox Series X and S, which will just give better versions of these games to everybody. And then if that is the case, that will where it gets super interesting, where it's like, how much of a difference is there actually going to be between the PS5 Pro and the Xbox Series X? I honestly don't think it's going to be that huge. I honestly don't think it's going to be that huge. Dreamcast guy is trying to compare it to a GTX 3060 PC. Like, you can make all these comparisons between PCs and console, but it just never works out the same. It's kind of just it's just a waste of time, essentially, because every PC SKU has like every PC build has all of these different things in them, all of these different bottlenecks. The major thing that, from what I understand, and like I will fully admit that I am a layman at the end of the day when it comes to all of this stuff, but the CPU bottleneck is the issue. And if they're keeping the exact same CPU in there, they're just giving it a boost 3.85. So that's not gonna make games all of a sudden start running at smooth 60 frames per second if they weren't running at smooth 60 frames per second on the regular PlayStation 5. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I said, Dragon Dogma 2 is a perfect example. Game just came out, has performance issues. The Capcom comes out and says it's because it's CPU intensive. It's gonna have those same issues. And in fact, there was another thing here when it comes to the PS5 Pro. And it is this here, like GTA 6, right? GTA 6. So a lot of people believe that the PS5 Pro is going to be the GTA 6 60 frames per second machine. And I think that dream has essentially been destroyed based off of some of the analysis out there. And because when people were saying that, it was before we had heard that the CPU was only an extra 10% on the clocks, right? And in fact, I believe also if you do go into the high frequency mode on the CPU on the PS5, the GPU takes a hit, which when I first saw the specs and I was going through social media, there was a lot of hype around it. I don't know if I had like just a PlayStation algorithmic feed, but there was so much hype around it. I was starting to think like, oh man, this is a huge jump. This is bigger than the PS4 to the PS4 Pro, but that isn't the case. The PS4 to the PS4 Pro, I believe, was a bigger jump here than we're getting from the PS5 to the PS5 Pro. And it's especially because of the whole CPU, which is the main thing where it helps make games run better. But they, like, when it comes to GTA 6, running at 60 frames per second on the PS5 Pro, Digital Foundry, love them or hate them. I think Digital Foundry, they do their analysis, and you can take their information for what you will, whether you think that they're biased or not. They do their analysis for everything. And they say Ledbetter's comments come following Insider Gaming exclusive reports on PlayStation 5 Pro specs, which reveal that the CPU of the Pro will be identical to the standard system with a 10% increase in gigahertz. And as a speaking on a special edition of Digital Foundry Direct, Ledbetter said all of the sort of conjecture that, hey, this is going to be a great box for Grand Theft Auto 6, will be able to run that at 60 frames per second unless there's some magical CPU stuff being done by Rockstar. I suggest that's not going to happen. An extra 10% on clocks isn't really going to do much at all. So, yeah, we're not going to see GTA 6 at 60 FPS on console. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have to wait until either next gen, because you know how GTA does this. I mean, you think about GTA 5, they released it on the 360, they released it on the Xbox One, they released it on the Xbox Series. They're going to release it on the next generation Xbox, and they're probably going to release it on the Xbox after that. So probably the next generation Xbox and PlayStation is where you're going to be able to see the higher FPS here for GTA 6. I don't think you're going to be seeing that on the PlayStation 5 Pro. And in fact, even if the PS5 Pro is touted the GTA 6 machine, I don't even think that's going to be... when I sit back and think about how the Pro versions of the Xbox and the PS4 sold, they sold okay, but they didn't go crazy. Like, it didn't really move the needle in a major amount. I don't even think it really matters that much. Like, they're going to have your 30 FPS mode most likely on GTA 6. Most people are going to be playing it that way, and they're just going to go out and buy the game for whatever platform that they already primarily play on. So I don't even think the PS5 Pro doesn't really make very much sense. The only thing that I did say that I could level with this argument, I think this argument is probably true, is that Sony and PlayStation had the PS5 Pro planned from the launch of the regular PS5. I don't think they saw the generation going the way that it is going, with having to do this major shift and having to release more games on PC and seeing their operating margins slim and all of those things, and losing, what was it, 10 billion, but what was it? How much did PlayStation lose? It was like in one day they lost 10, like a million or billion. I don't know if billion makes any sense, but it was 10 billion. Okay, yeah, their stocks lost 10 billion in value. Like, I don't think they predicted that happening halfway through this generation. So they're just sitting there and they're thinking like, yeah, hey, it's we did great with PS4. We're not going to change a thing. We're going to continue the exact same strategy, and we're going to have a PS5 Pro halfway through just to kind of to rejuvenate the brand, rejuvenate PlayStation, get people talking about our hardware again. And yeah, but at this point, it's like, I don't know if they right now, if they could go back in hindsight, if they would continue creating this PS5 Pro, if they knew what was going to happen halfway through the generation. We'll see how many people buy it. It's going to get hyped up, of course. When the announcement comes out, you're going to see the hype around it. There will be interest amongst the enthusiasts. Myself, will I be interested? I'll take a look at it. I don't think I would buy one because I don't really play my PS5 even too much right now. But there will be the enthusiast hype, and we'll see how games do run. Games will run better. Games will look slightly better, but will it be enough? Will it be enough for people to truly care? I honestly do not think so, but that's just me again. That's just me. And then, as James says in the chat, there, Switch 2 is coming out very soon, which, believe it or not, Switch 2 is going to overshadow everything. Nintendo is just, when it comes to their hardware, it overshadows everything because they have such a broad range of people who are interested in the Nintendo hardware. It's not just enthusiasts when it comes to Nintendo. It's kids. It's grandpas and grandmas. It's everyone. When it comes to a pro version of Xbox or PlayStation, it's the enthusiasts. It's not the random guy who wants to play Call of Duty or 2K or something. going to be the enthusiast, and especially we don't know what the price is, right? We don't know what the price is. I'm thinking the most, they're not going to go over $599 on the PS5 Pro. That's the highest that they will go, which makes it even more insane for people in other parts of the world where, like in Canada, for example, that may put the PS5 Pro at like $749 in Canada if they price it at $599, because the PS5 released at $499, right? And the PS5 in Canada on launch was $629, which is just crazy. So yeah, $699 or $730 probably in Canada on launch. So that would be crazy. I don't know how many people are going to want to buy that. Which brings us to the other hardware that could be releasing, which I'm actually very excited about. This is a totally different piece. I think this will be, it's a completely different realm, and that is the, where is it here? That is Xbox Handheld. Now, this is something we've been hearing the rumors for quite a bit. And I think it just makes complete sense. I think it just makes complete sense for them to do this. If they don't do this, it would be a missed opportunity, in my opinion. But before we continue, WebDave's Gamer Council podcast, which was a phenomenal episode today with K Mega and Doc Dark and the crew over there. It was a great episode. Go check them out. Go subscribe to their channel if you haven't. I feel like most people in here probably are already subscribed to them, but go check them out. Great podcast. Always a fun show Sunday nights just before I come live. So go check them out. The Gamers Council podcast. Awesome show. So welcome everyone here from WebDave's show. I see you guys just joined the chat. I see the raid here. And welcome WebDave. As usual, I appreciate the raid every Sunday as we show. Yeah, it looks like you guys went extra long too, which is, I'm not surprised because that was a fun show. I was sad that I had to go live and miss out whatever was going on there. But yeah, I appreciate the raid. Let's get back here. Let's talk about the Xbox Handheld. So that's the other thing that's in the rumors, right? We have a lot of people talking about it. We had Sarah Bond come on stage and basically say, yeah, we're going to get more announcements for Xbox hardware this upcoming showcase in the summer or wherever, in the fall, wherever it was. And she said something about the biggest technical leap, but I feel like that's not going to happen. We're not going to hear more about that biggest technical leap until maybe next year. I don't think we're going to hear much about that this year. What I do think we may hear about, though, is this Xbox Handheld, because we've seen there's so much smoke around this, and wherever there's a lot of smoke, there's fire. I mean, we can go back to the Xbox putting first-party games onto a select amount of first-party games onto the PS5. There's so much smoke around that rumor, and people were getting mad that like people were reporting about it and talking about, but there's just so much smoke around it that it did come true in terms of those 4 games. This is another one here where there's so much smoke around this rumor. And it is the native Xbox Handheld, which in my opinion would be one of the best moves Xbox could make this generation to try to capitalize on the current handheld market. So for me personally, I had a Steam Deck, which I just sold because I got an Asus ROG Ally because I play mainly Game Pass on it. But they were both great. Like the Steam Deck is great. What set the Steam Deck apart from the ROG Ally was the interface, Steam OS, which ironically, when you load up Steam on your ROG Ally, it gives you that same experience, which is really, really cool. But that experience itself, that console experience in your hands, just makes the handheld so much better. It kind of makes you almost even forget about the difference in power, because the ROG Ally is more powerful, but just that convenience and being able to jump right into a game and not have to deal with Windows was really, really good. But I sold the Steam Deck. Now I'm using the ROG. I love the ROG. It's great. I mean, I get my Game Pass on there, but I every time I load it up, I'm always thinking like, how much better would this experience be if it was a console UI experience? And not only did I have Game Pass, I had the entire Xbox ecosystem on there. If I could access all of my purchase content, because I think I have like 950 plus or whatever, maybe even 1,000 at this point, purchase games on Xbox. How much better would it be if I could access that at the same time in that whole console experience, have everything integrated, get all of my achievements, and just get out of that Windows? Because essentially that's what the consoles are, right? They're Windows based and they're just stripped down, so you get that console experience. Just put that literally on the handheld. Like, even if they just put the same UI on the handheld, I would be okay with that. Like, it would be fine. You have a Nexus button in there and everything. It would be fine. It would just be way better than using Windows. So that's where there's a huge opportunity. And I think that a lot of people think that same way, and that they would jump over to the Xbox handheld as well. I think there's also a lot of people who buy these handhelds to play. Like, if you're buying like the ROG Ally, you're buying the Lenovo Legion Go, you're buying the MSI Claw. I think a lot of people are buying those to play Game Pass and to play those subscription services. It's literally your Xbox on the go. And Jess Corden here says that on the Xbox 2 podcast, he says that I know Xbox have got handheld prototypes right now, new prototypes, and says that it's not a cloud handheld. It is a fully native Xbox handheld. And that's where the big news comes in. Fully native, downloadable. You get access to all of your games that you have purchased on Xbox and everything, plus Game Pass. It would just be, I think, a no-brainer for a lot of people. I would be buying it day one. I would be selling my ROG Ally. ROG Ally, I use both names. I don't know why, but I would be selling that, and I would be jumping into the Xbox handle because that's what I mainly use it for. So I really, really hope that is the case. I really hope that they are working on this, and you think about what they have to do with this. Would this be a next generation console or a this generation console? I think it has to be a this generation console. I think this has to be their mid-gen refresh. I really do. I think that this handheld is that mid-gen refresh where they're like, you have the Xbox Series S, which you could easily, I think, at this point turn into a handheld with what's in the box there, and then just kind of adapt it. And then even like the form factor of the Xbox Series S. Shout out to Doc Dark on the Gamers Council podcast. He pulled up his handhelds. He pulled up the Series S, and like the size, like they're essentially the same. You put that into a handheld. You even have the X screen that you attach to the Series S that essentially turns it into kind of a portable thing. And you release it as another way to get into the Xbox ecosystem. You make sure that devs essentially just have to reach the same benchmark as they do with the Xbox Series S, and you're good to go. And you add a dock. You make it dockable. You have that HDMI in there so that you can play your games on your TV. I think that would be huge. I think it's a no-brainer, and it's another way to get people playing Xbox in on the go wherever they are on another screen. And then imagine they were to add things like Steam on there. It would essentially make the Xbox handheld the go-to for everything. Like, you'd be able to play literally PlayStation games on there because they're releasing them on PC. I don't know, it gets me really excited to think about a native Xbox handheld. Something that I've been always wanted, never thought was going to happen. Like, if you go back to my videos, me talking about the handheld, I'm like, they're not going to do it. There's no way they're going to do it. Doesn't really make sense. They don't want to release more hardware. And now that I'm going to be wrong about this and it's happening, I'm really excited because I always wanted it. I just never thought that they would do it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see. I think this summer showcase will be very interesting. We are most likely going to be getting some sort of hardware announcement, whether that is this handheld or whether that is the Series X digital. I have less interest in the Series X digital, but the handheld, no brainer. Bring it with a dock, release it with as a mid-gen refresh, put it up against the Nintendo Switch 2, because it's going to be able to play everything that the Switch 2 is going to be able to play all these upcoming third-party games, I would assume. Put it up against that, and I think it would be very successful, especially from what we've seen. I mean, the Steam Deck came out and they basically said, hey, here is a handheld, PC handheld, and we're going to prove to you that the handheld market is still out there and people want handhelds to game on, which they completely did. That thing sold extremely well. And then what did we see? We saw Asus come out, we saw MSI come out, we saw Lenovo come out, and we are going to continue to see more PC handhelds coming out. But the difference between what Xbox is going to be doing and what these PC handhelds is going to be doing is that Xbox needs to make this thing more like relatively affordable. They don't need to go all out. They don't need to give you the best specs in this handheld. They just need to make this thing where you can download all of these games on Game Pass, download all the games in your catalog and play them, and make it maybe like a $500 machine, $400 machine, undercut like something. I'm thinking in Canadian terms, in Canadian dollar terms, like Lenovo, or even in US terms, like 500, I believe, will be cheaper than the Legion Go and the ROG Ally. So yeah. So that's what I think needs to happen. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. And again, this showcase will be very interesting. But I would love to know, like, do people care? Do people care about the handheld? Hey, Talos, that wasn't me, Talos. That was somebody else who gifted in the chat. So thank them. Don't thank me on that. But Series X digital has a new controller, 2 terabyte SSD, and Wi-Fi 6. And that we've seen the new SDKs come out in Korea. I saw a lot of people. Now, I'm not 100% sure on this. I saw a lot of people saying that it can't be the Series X digital as the new development kit that was in Korea that they approved. But I'm thinking with like, there are new pieces to the Series X digital, like the Wi-Fi 6. Maybe they just have to update the overall approval of that SDK, right? Or GDK, whatever. And maybe that's what that is. But again, it also could just be, it's a new SKU. It could be something brand new, preparing for this mid-gen refresh that they are thinking of doing. I don't think they would get, I don't think Xbox is going to be releasing any sort of pro console, but a handheld mid-gen refresh would be a genius move, in my opinion, from a hardware perspective. Rather, $600 to $700 system with a dock that will upgrade performance. That would be cool too. I just think that, like, if you're going 600 to 700, you're cutting out a lot of the market. I feel like there is that mental block when it's over 500 that people have, and that's why they price these Series X and PS5 at $499, because I feel like there's just that mental block. And it's crazy to think about that, like from $499 to 500, people actually look at that differently, but that's why they do it. There is that little mental block when you see the go past that 500. So I feel like I think they still need to think in console terms and evaluate and try to get, if you're Xbox, you're probably thinking, how can we get as many people who have purchased the Xbox currently to go out and buy another Xbox product? If you're pricing that at $600, $700, or even more than that, the number gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But if you price it in a reasonable range, you're going to have more people who play on Xbox who think, hey, why don't I just go get this? Gives me the on-the-go option for my entire Xbox library, and it's a more affordable price than going and picking up a PC handheld that is on the market itself. And the biggest differentiator for a lot of people will be you get the whole Xbox ecosystem. You get everything that you've purchased, not just the Xbox Game Pass, because that's huge. That's huge for a lot of people who have invested a lot of money into the Xbox ecosystem and games that they have actually purchased. They can make 2 models base tier for 4 or 450, top tier 550. Yeah, I mean, they could do that. They could make 2 tiers for sure, like they've done with the ROG Ally. I guess you have the Extreme and then you have the regular processor in there, or GPU, whatever it is. I guess it's just not called the Extreme. They could do that as well, but they also, I feel like, don't want to give I feel like they don't want to add a brand new SKU for developers to have to think about in terms of like performance and everything. If they just release it and match it to the Xbox Series S, you're putting it out there, no brainer for developers, because they just have to continue with the same requirements, and that they can keep it at a lower price. What brings up the price on the handheld will be like something if they add a dock or then the screen itself, right? But depending on what the screen is, would they go OLED or are they going to go LCD, all that stuff? We're hearing the Switch 2 is going to be LCD, so I would be surprised if Xbox kept it at a reasonable price and kept an OLED screen on it. But yeah, Xbox going forward should release a Pro Xbox start of the gen and then give us a V2 handheld mid-gen. I think one of the things that we have seen about Xbox hardware going forward is we've seen the rumors maybe 2026 is going to be their release. I think going forward, it would be very smart if Xbox did do the 360 strategy, which is release their next gen hardware a year early. Like, let's say they announce we're 2024. For 2024, summer showcase comes. Sarah Bond comes out and says Xbox handheld releasing November the 15th. I'm just going with the 15th because that's an iconic date. November 15th, 2024, this year. You put that out there. You keep it for about 2 years, and then you have the Xbox handheld 2024 release, and then 2026 they come out with like that beast at-home console that's obviously compatible with the Xbox handheld. And I feel like they're probably gonna have a year head start on the PS6. They'll have a console that's more powerful than the PS5 Pro, and you'll get a lot of people just like looking at that thing and thinking, hey, this is the best way, especially if it can play 4K 60 frames per second games. I think that will be a very enticing thing. I feel like you got to go ahead and do that 360 strategy, release that console a year in advance, because look how well that worked for them. Even with the Red Ring of Death, and they were on the brink of deciding, do we just not repair and just end the Xbox hardware or continue? Even with that, look how good the 360 still did. And I remember with the 360, it was a huge jump from the OG Xbox. It's like, I've said this previously on my channel, but I don't remember. That was the last time that I can remember. I don't know if it's because I'm older now, so I don't have that, like, you know, when you're a kid, you're younger. I wasn't how old was I then? I'm trying to think how old I was. I think I was in high school or something. But you know, when you're younger and everything just seems more magical. But I remember like going in Canada, we have a Future Shop. We had Future Shop. Now it's all Best Buy. Best Buy came to Canada and just bought out all the Future Shops. But we had Future Shop, and they had 360s on display, and they had Fight Night, and I think Madden 06. But Madden 06 was like okay in terms of the difference. It definitely looked different. But Fight Night was insane how good that game looked on the 360 compared to anything we had ever seen on the OG Xbox. And in my opinion, I haven't had a moment like that since then, in terms of like, wow, from each generation to each generation, it's been like this insane jump. And we're probably not going to get that. But if you can get a console here that literally can get games at 4K 60, which is people have been waiting for. I mean, they've been saying this for a generation and a half now, and get that consistency. There will be a lot of people who will be like, okay, if we have the proof that this is going 4K 60 consistently, I will go with that console. The Xbox comes out a year early before PS6, shows off a bunch of 4K 60 games. You'll probably have a lot of people pretty excited to get that consistency in the games that they do play. The 16-bit to the 3D was, yeah, that was a huge jump as well. That was a huge jump as well. Like going from the PS1 to PS2 was massive for sure. Or from the Super Nintendo to the N64 was massive. I don't know why I went PS1, PS2 as a 16-bit to 3D, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, going from the SNES to the N64, I went from Super Nintendo to PS1. I never had my own N64. I had a PS1, and I would trade with my friend. We would trade like PS1 and N64 for a couple weeks and play each other's games. But to be honest, this may piss off people who are big Nintendo fans, but the N64 sucked. I'm not gonna lie. Like they had Super Mario 64, that was great. And Mario Kart. He had some great games, but the PS1 like destroyed the N64. Wasn't even close. And I remember like we would trade, and I'd be like, okay, cool, I can play these Mario games that I haven't played before. Like Diddy Kong Racing was phenomenal. Like I love that. They had some good games, but like it was nothing compared. Like the PS1 was better. Those were the real console wars, though. Those were the real console wars because you had completely different tech in all of these consoles. You had a disc-based system versus a cartridge-based system. Like it was like completely different. Now it's like you have internals that are essentially the exact same. They're both AMD. They have very similar GPUs. One's slightly more powerful than the other. Very similar CPUs. One's locked, one's unlocked, I believe. The only real difference between them is the plastic that surrounds them and the logo on them. So it's always kind of funny when you think about the current day console wars when they're the exact same box. GoldenEye, yes, of course, that was a classic. I'm not saying the N64 had no good games, but it's just like when you look at the library of games on the N64 versus the library of games on the PS1, like it's really, I don't think it was too much of a battle there. And maybe I'm biased because I was the guy who owned the PS1 and I was the one, my friend owned the N64. Maybe that's my internal console wars coming out from back in the day. It could literally just be that because like we actually had console wars back then. Today's console wars are like fake console wars, but back then it was like real. But yeah, I think that year ahead release strategy is what Xbox has to do. And I think it would be good. People, I think they overestimate how many people will. We've had the whole thing with the 4 games going to PlayStation, but I think people really overestimate how many people in the entire demographic of gamers out there who are playing these games truly do care about that. Because most people who aren't following the industry don't care, probably don't even really know about that, and it's not going to affect their buying decision. What's going to affect their buying decision going forward is, oh wow, I've already spent thousands of dollars in this ecosystem. I have all of these games. Why would I not just go get the next version of this console if I can play all these games even better? Anonymous Boss, have I played Halo 3 ODST? Yes, I have played Halo 3 ODST. Best console war was Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis. I would agree with that. That was a phenomenal console war, especially even the marketing. The Sega marketing was awesome when Nintendo don't. Like that was really, really cool. We don't see that anymore. Here's the thing. We're also in a generation of like we don't see that. We don't see these companies. We don't see Xbox and PlayStation putting out ads fighting each other and like making the console wars between the businesses. We saw the PlayStation 4 game sharing troll that they did. That was like the last one. I think Xbox did one other thing, but I forget what it was. But we don't see those ads anymore. They all just kind of cheer each other on, because the reality is they're all kind of sharing technologies. They're all kind of like there's PlayStation and I mean, and Xbox, and even more so now, they're all kind of out there trying to make as much money together in a way, right? If you really sit back and think about it, like doesn't Sony have a deal for Microsoft servers, and Xbox has games on PlayStation. PlayStation okayed this, no problem. Everybody's making money in that deal. Like if we sit back and we're looking at this, like there was the whole outrage about Xbox putting their games on PlayStation, but the reality is PlayStation is making money out of this. Xbox is making money out of this. They're kind of working together in that way, and they're all making money. So there really is no war between the companies. Whereas back in the day, it was like Super Nintendo and Genesis, it was like you had the same game on both consoles that were different versions of the game. They truly had to compete and try to get people to buy one version versus the other. Like you had different sound. You had different, like the graphics were slightly different. Like there were differences in those games. And today, a game on PlayStation and a game on Xbox are the exact same, essentially. Minus people who go in and like count every single frame. There may be slight differences there, but the actual game itself on those older consoles were different. There's totally like they're different versions. Like you can go look up YouTube videos of Genesis versions versus Super Nintendo versions, right? It was a completely different world back then. I like how talking about the Xbox handheld has led us to talking about retro games, because that's honestly, retro games is another one of my major passions. Like it's probably up. Yeah, it's up there. I love retro games. I love retro games. I love playing all the old stuff. I love playing all the old stuff. Which I feel like I look at my demographics on my channel. By the way, I'm not trying to be weird here, but if you go in the back end of YouTube, you can see like the average, depending on I guess what you guys put on your YouTube profile, whatever age you are, the average age of people who watch my channel are literally between, I think, 25 and 55. So I would assume most people who watch this channel at some point, if they've been gaming there for longer than this generation, have some sort of experience with retro gaming and the older stuff. And most people would agree, like it was a completely different era. Best ad, now you're playing with power, superpower. Yeah, I mean, I put a tweet out yesterday. I still have like my Game Pro magazines. I have some Nintendo Powers. I have the official Xbox magazine. And it is such a different time. Like you read through some of those articles compared to some of the stuff you read on like IGN, Kotaku, Polygon, the GameSpot. Like it is just such a different era. And that whole nostalgia side of gaming thing is like, it is true. Maybe I can't tell if I just loved that stuff way better because I'm nostalgic and it brings me back so many good memories, or if it was truly better. Like it's very hard to tell. That's the thing. It's hard to tell about that. But man, like reading Game Pro every month, like picking that issue up every month was like the best part of the month. And now it's like we just had the whole controversy stuff with Kotaku and stuff. It's just like you never had any of that stuff back then. It was like people wrote about those games because they loved the games. Now it's like, who knows if the people actually love the games, if they play them. It's just such a different era. Imagine a Halo ODST remake with modern graphics with that. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. It was a very cool game. It was a nice spin, like with the investigation and stuff. I liked ODST. Very, very good game. The only Halo campaign story-wise, which I didn't like, was Halo 5. But Halo, has, in my opinion, gameplay-wise, has never missed. Really. I'm trying to think what mainline Halo game, gameplay-wise, has not been fun. There's not been one. Like, I could play through Halo 5 tomorrow and have fun. Just from the gameplay perspective. So. Back then they were good. Cult Taku. Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw what happened to them. We saw what happened to them this week. They are, whatever they were doing, it backfired on them. They are going to start making guides, 50 guides a week at Kotaku. And I'm not even like, oh, I hope that all these people lose their jobs. Like, I don't know, because like everyone's human. Everyone, I don't wish that on anybody. But you know what? Maybe Kotaku could become a good guides website. Maybe this will work out in the end. And if they're just focusing on games, and that's cool. Like, I don't care. But would I agree it has like a cyberpunk vibe? Maybe. Yeah, kind of. Kind of. It was definitely a different take, and it was cool. I liked it. I appreciate that, Anonymous Boss. Appreciate that. Well, Halo, I would love for them to... Like, I liked ODST, but I would love a Halo Reach remake for modern consoles. Halo Reach was so good. Halo Reach was really, really good. IGN is who you hate the most. Yeah, IGN puts out a lot of bullshit. One thing I will say is that I don't read really, like, when I'm reporting the news, there are some reports from these websites that they're just reporting the news. So there are people, individual people that work at these websites that do good work. But there's also a lot of individual people at those websites that you just ignore because, you know, it's kind of garbage. They're always putting their opinions on stuff that has nothing to do with gaming. But like, there are individuals at those websites that aren't bad. I'm not going to sit here and say that every one of these gaming journalist websites or everyone there is terrible. No, it's not. It's just not true. There are people there that care about games, that write good stuff. So yeah, it's kind of who is you're reading, right? Yeah, I don't read any of the IGN reviews. I don't look at the reviews. Their review scores mean nothing to me. I would agree. Yeah, the reviews are useless to me. But the reviews in general to me are kind of useless. Like, if it's a game I want to play, I'm playing it. I want to make my own opinion on it. Like, for example, if I would have listened to the reviews for Crackdown 3, I would have never played that game, and I loved Crackdown 3. I don't care what the reviews say. I think IGN gave Crackdown 3 a 3 out of 10. Whatever, right? I would have never played it if I cared about what other what reviewers' opinions were on the game. I loved Crackdown 3. I had a ton of fun with it. So it's kind of always been my stance. I have like my main go-to for reviews is ACG. He's my main guy. He's always been reliable. He's very transparent. Like, he never lets me down in terms of reviews. So if I really am on the fence about a game, I don't know if I want to spend the money on it, I want to just kind of see someone's opinion, I watch the ACG review, and then that helps me a lot. Lotus, what is going on here, Lotus? That's $350. That's $150 on this stream. This too much, Lotus. It's too much. I mean, I appreciate it more than like I appreciate it. This has never happened to me before. I don't even know what to say, honestly, because this has never happened to me. I'm sure people get super chats all the time and they know how to respond. I don't even know what to say, Lotus. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much for the support. It does mean a lot. I mean, I put up my daily stuff, and it means a lot that you're watching. And I mean, this is insane. I don't even know what to say. Thank you, Lotus. Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you. Yeah, craziness. Don't forget to read my comment. I read it. I read it, David. I read it. Oh man, that's crazy, Lotus. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. It throws me off when I get these types, like a super chat like that. I lose my train of thought. They're going to be like G4. Okay, so here's the thing when it comes to G4. The OG G4 was I watched that all the time. I live in Canada, so it was the only gaming it was the only gaming show on like TV with all the G4 stuff. You had like Attack of the Show, you had reviews on the run with Victor Lucas, who I believe he's on YouTube now. Yeah, he is. I don't believe he is on YouTube. I've watched him a few times. He is on YouTube. You had the show with Adam Sussler and with the girl, what's her name? I forget her name now. Like sometimes names, but the OG G4 was good. And I don't know what they were thinking they could come back on YouTube and just make like the same thing, especially after with the whole calling out their fans stuff. Never a good move. We've seen it happen twice now. G4, we've seen it with Kotaku. Attacking the people that support you makes absolutely no sense. Like, it's okay to have difference of opinions, but like the way that they attack their fans, it's just nonsensical, because these places wouldn't be around if it wasn't for the people supporting them. So attacking them makes no sense. And it's like, to get that upset over having difference of opinions is crazy to me. But that's what I think. But thinking that you could come back and essentially do the same thing. Like, G4 tried to be this major production on YouTube, and it completely backfired. And then we saw the whole meltdown of Adam Sussler. Like, that guy's, I don't know what happened to that guy, but man, never meet your heroes. I never met him, but when you see like guy that you used to watch all the time and like really enjoyed what he does, and then like says like didn't even like gaming, stuff like that. Like, I think he like called out gamers. It's just like, what is going on here? But yeah, there was inevitable. I never thought when they re-announced G4, I didn't think it really had a chance. The world had changed. People were going more to independent stuff. They don't really care too much about this, like these like big productions of, like, they just want someone to be real with them. And clearly when you're making, it seems less real when you're making these big productions and you have all of these angles you're trying to push into the stuff that you're presenting to people and stuff. So yeah, we could be going back though. We could be going back, this whole Kotaku thing going, and they're trying to make guides now. Maybe this is the beginning of going back to strictly talking about the hobby, strictly talking about gaming when it comes to these journalist websites. Maybe this is the signal, because they're not making money anymore pandering for whatever their agenda is. And what I think they don't realize is that most gamers aren't like that political. Like, they don't care. They just want to know whether the game is good or the game is bad, and whatever is happening within the news, right? Like, that's kind of what they want to know. Most gamers aren't that political. I know myself, I'm not that political. Like, I'm not very political. I just love gaming. That's it. That's why I try to provide you just literally with the news. And yeah, that's like my whole thing on this channel, is just giving you the news. Obviously, I give you the news and I give you my opinions, but I don't bring politics into my opinions. I just give you my opinions on like the gaming side of things. Game journalism has been dead for a while, maybe 20 plus years even. Attack of the Show in Arena. Yeah, that was good. Oh, Morgan Webb. That was the, I don't know. Name slipped my mind. Did you see about Xbox doubling down on DEI even after the backlash with Sweet Baby? No, I did not see that. But you got, like, it's Microsoft. It's Microsoft. Who did I watch? I watched great YouTuber. Does great stuff, like just gives you kind of like the upper echelon, did a video on it. He does a great comparison as like look at the the influence from like the investors and their checklists to give money. So, and I think they have I think they're one of the biggest investors in Microsoft as well. For me, to be completely honest though, like I don't really notice those things. Like if the game is good, the game is good. If the game is bad, the game is bad. That's what I notice. For example, I watched X-Men 97 with my wife on the weekend, and I loved X-Men 97. I tweeted it out, and someone said it was like woke or something. I had no idea. Like this was just X-Men 97. I thought it was a good show. That's what I mean. Like I'm not political in that sense, but there are if I can notice like when there's forced stuff in there that makes no sense, then people who really are political and really knows those things, I can totally see that ruining experiences and immersions. But game news is why you come here. I don't care for politics means. I mean that's that's my goal. I'm not gonna push any sort of politics on this channel. Flintlock is a sweet baby Game Pass game. You know, Flintlock looks really good. I can't lie, but you know, I don't know. But is it Sweet Baby Inc? Then I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it turns out. But the gameplay looks really good at least. Yeah, that's what I think. It isn't, right? It is not woke, right? X-Men 97 isn't woke. So there's that balance, right? There's people who use that word for everything, which is an issue because it kind of confuses people who don't really like know. But it was the first 2 episodes were great. Like we wanted to watch more, and then we realized that it doesn't come out till next week. But that was the best X-Men. Like that X-Men was my X-Men. I don't know how like you guys in America do it every day. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, like when I see like when I go on X sometimes, and it's just like every day there's just like the Division. I don't know if that's just an online thing, but like it's crazy because like, if you go and you just talk to people in the real life, the Division that's online isn't there in real life. It just isn't. That's the issue with like some of the online stuff. To be fair, new game predictions. I'm hoping for a new IP. You mean from Xbox? Well, there is. Well, I'm talking about this in my video tomorrow. They are working on a new IP, Project Maverick, with People Can Fly, and it's apparently there's a job listing for it, and it is a PvP online games as a service shooter they're working on. I believe I think it's games as a service, but it's a PvP shooter with People Can Fly, which I actually am pretty be interested in seeing, because I think People Can Fly has done some great stuff when you think about like the Bulletstorm series, and you think about even Outriders. Outriders was a very good game mechanically. Like that game felt good to play. So I think People Can Fly has really good gameplay stuff, and that could be a new IP that they do announce or show off at the Xbox showcase. I'm still waiting on the Gears collection, to be completely honest. I want that to come out. I'm still waiting for that to come out. Woke is being used as a buzzword. It's lost its streaming. Yeah. Toys for Bob, new IP. Yeah, I mean, they're working on something. I'm thinking Spyro, just because of the horns saying that they did have within their press release of going independent. I'm thinking Spyro, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be a brand new game that they have thought about. I would love a new Spyro. I love Spyro. I've played a lot of them. I still have a bunch of like my old copies of them. But I would also love to see Toys for Bob make their own new thing. Even if it's a smaller game, a little AA game, something tiny, maybe a 3D platformer, get their feet wet with their own, with a new IP. I think that would be great. I think Toys for Bob is phenomenal. But yeah, I think what they are working on is more than likely a new Spyro, which is exciting, to be honest. I like Spyro better than Banjo as well. Honestly, I do. Sully, I like Spyro better than Banjo as well. I like Spyro better than Crash actually as well. I think about it. I've played them all. I like them all. I'm a big 3D platformer fan. We don't really get too many great 3D platformers anymore, but I'm a guy of that era where we got a ton of 3D platformers like the PS2 and the Xbox era. And I was playing a game, I Ninja, the other day. I don't know if you guys heard of that one. That was like another random one. But Spyro was always better for me. I would love PlayStation to bring back Jak and Daxter. Like, why don't they bring back Sly Cooper? That would be cool, right? But yeah, I think Spyro is probably the next one that is coming up. You are correct. I closed my X-Scan after only 3 weeks. I can't even with these people on. It is, Lotus, it is, yeah, it is crazy online. Like on X, the amount of just, if you meet people in real life, nobody will interact like that. You'll probably be able to sit down with somebody and have a conversation, even if you disagree, and walk away being friends in real life. On X, you won't be able to. Like, you just think about it, right? Think about the amount of people in your life. I know for me, I disagree with my friends all the time. We're still friends. Like, that's just a normal thing. I love the Banjo-Kazooie games from N64. So I'm hoping for a new Banjo-Kazooie. I think a lot of people are hoping for a new Banjo-Kazooie. It's just like, who's making that, right? Who's making it? I don't know. Like, who is Xbox? Because right now you think of Rare, they're going hard on Sea of Thieves, but do they have a small spin-off team that could be working on Banjo-Kazooie? Will they just license the IP out to another developer to make that game? That would be the other thing. I don't think Toys for Bob is doing it right now. I would more lean towards Spyro for Toys for Bob. But does Xbox have another studio that they've acquired through ABK that potentially could help work on Banjo-Kazooie? They have enough employees, they have enough studios to be able to make a new Banjo-Kazooie. They just have not done it. That's the thing. Did I get that jacket from? It's the Costco sweater. I actually have 2 of them. Kirkland signature. Hey, Costco has the best stuff. I'm not even ashamed of that. Good prices on clothing. And these sweaters are like super like comfy. Like we've had a reinvigoration of winter here over the last week. It was like super nice and warm, and it was like winter was gone. There's no more snow on the ground, but like now it's like all of a sudden really cold outside again. Hopefully this week will be better. Just saw Jax on PlayStation Plus streaming today. Nice. Yeah, that's cool. I saw that too. Actually, they're bringing back some cool games for the PS Plus streaming service. I wonder what the PS5 Pro is, if PlayStation is going to implement something so that they can just emulate PS3 games on it, not just have it through streaming, because that would be huge. That would be that to me. If there's one thing that would get me to buy a PS5 Pro, I'll be honest, it wouldn't be the upgrade in the 10% CPU upgrade or the 45% GPU upgrade. It would be if they released it and they came out and said you can play PS1, PS2, PS3 discs on your PS5 Pro, that would make me probably go out and buy it. Because the thing with the Series X that I think a lot of people who, if you're only playing modern games on the Series X, you don't think about this. But if you're somebody like me who has a collection of 360 and Xbox games and they have that backwards compatibility, like I will never get rid of my Xbox Series X because it's fully backwards compatible with a lot of games that I want to play and games that I have discs for. So they will always be in my console collection. It's always going to be useful for me. Costco is the best value. Costco pizza, Costco, the hot dog and drink deal is the best value still. It has never gone up. They've never raised the price on it. Was it $2.50 in Canada? I don't know what it is in the States. Probably like $1.50. One is 3 minutes for your apartment. That's awesome. The only crappy thing about Costco is how busy it is. That's the only shitty thing. You have to select your time, but really there is no time that it isn't busy. If the PS5 Pro makes my games look better, then you'll get one. That's fair. All the retro games you wanted to play, Xbox didn't make retro compatible. That is the one thing that I wish they would bring back. I wish they would bring back the backwards compatibility program. And from the business perspective, I can get why they closed it. Like, I get it. Like, if I'm being like honest with myself, like, yeah, I get it. They're not making very much money. If they're making any money off backwards compatibility, to spend money on licensing, spend money on making games compatible for like how many people are actually going to play this random backwards compatible game? Probably not very many. You're not going to make money off these people probably going out and buying games within the ecosystem and stuff. Like, I get it, but that's the one thing that, like, when the Series X and S was announced, it was easily one of the most consumer friendly things. I'm trying to think all generations that any console maker has done was that backwards compatibility program. And it's because they don't make that much money off it. I'm guessing. I'm pretty sure they don't make that much money off of it. I would have to say I'm guessing because I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to give that impression across, but I believe they don't make very much money off of it, and they were doing it just because they wanted to give people that option in the console itself. Like, you think back, the PS3 had backwards compatibility, which was awesome. But then they cut it off, right? With the future iterations of the PS3, you have to get a specific launch. I think it's 60 gigabyte PS3 to get the full backwards compatibility with PS1 and PS2. I think it's 60. Every other PS3 after that, I believe, does not have it. But right now, we are 4 years into this generation. You pick up an Xbox Series X, it is fully backwards compatible with their list of backwards compatible games. They haven't changed that, and we'll probably see that throughout this entire generation. Since they acquired ABK, they could add Hulk, Ultimate Destruction, Simpson Hit and Run. That would be phenomenal. I'm really hoping that they do actually bring some of these games out for backwards compatibility. And like, we get in Game Pass, think about this. We get in Game Pass, we get all of these newer games, right? Imagine 1 month we get an announcement and it's like the change. You get the new games and then you get the backwards compatible games that they are bringing out for the service. That would be super cool. Like, PlayStation, I gotta give kudos to PlayStation. They do that for their PS Plus, for their highest tier, I believe, but it's only through streaming. So that's why I'm saying, if the PS5 Pro, they made it so that there's an emulator of some sort where you can actually play these games or whatever, natively play these games, put in a disc and play a PS3 game. That would be something that would make me consider getting a PS5 Pro, especially if they upscaled it or whatever. PS2 backwards compatibility, yeah. PS5 Pro, I mean, it could be fine. I don't see it moving the needle like that much, right? I don't see, like, people will buy it, but how big is it going to be? Mech Assault, Eternal Sonata, Midtown Madness. Can't use your OG. I have Mech Assault. I have Eternal Sonata. I do not have Midtown Madness. And you can't use any of those. Yeah, that's unfortunate. The Pro boosted the CPU speed to 3.8 gigahertz, which is what the Series X already runs at. Yeah. So it's like not an insane boost or whatever. You've always wondered. Someone asked me at the beginning of this stream how I chose the name Plume. So it has nothing to do with gaming. I played baseball and someone called me the Big Plume, and the name just stuck with me. So I just used it for my YouTube channel. That's basically it. Nothing to do with gaming. When I first started this channel, the channel's name was The Big Plume. Then it went to Plume Network, and now it's Plume Gaming. I went from The Big Plume to Plume Network because I thought, like, oh, maybe this could be like a network, like a show type of thing, because I do the news show. And now I'm Plume Gaming because I figured that, like, I'm a gaming channel. I might as well, if people stumble upon my channel, they can instantly know it's a gaming channel. Also, there is actually like a Plume Network, like a major company out there that does networking, and their thing is called Plume. And if you type Plume Network in, it's like brings up all their networking stuff. Although these name changes has zero effect on my channel. I don't think it really matters that much in the search algorithm of YouTube. You know, this PS5 Pro is Jim Ryan's Sony swan song, and he put 3 consoles out in 4 years: PS5 in 2020, PS5 Slim in 2023, PS5 Pro in 2024. Sony don't want that money. Maker leaving. We'll see. We'll see how much money the PS5 Pro does make. I'm skeptical, but we'll see. I think it'll sell okay. Like, you'll have the enthusiasts buying it right away. But I don't even think the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro did like insane numbers. I mean, you saw a lot of people playing the PS4 and the Xbox One at the beginning of this generation, which is why they were so animate about the cross-gen stuff. Well, PS5, Jim Ryan was, after he realized he was an idiot in terms of saying he believed in generations, and he realized that, yeah, no, we're not going to cut off over 100 million PlayStation 4 users because that would make zero sense. But it's also been a weird generation in terms of hardware release, in terms of like special edition of versions of consoles that we have seen. Think about how many special editions there were for the 360. Like, just on the top of my head, like, there was Gears, there was a Halo, there was a Star Wars. I'm sure there are other ones as well. The Xbox One, there was like there was a black one, a white one. There was a Cyberpunk 1X. There was a Halo Xbox One. We've only had one special edition Xbox console this generation, and we have had, there's been one special edition PlayStation console this generation, which was Spider-Man. They're going to stop cross-gen at this point. New stuff comes out and Sony inflated sales numbers. 50 million consoles sold. The stores, but scalpers have millions as well. They had a lot of some of those pictures we saw of scalpers, which was crazy. He was trying to force the Sony users' wallets open when he originally made the absurd announcement. Yeah, that did not work out. Get to backtrack on that one fast. Hey, that's true, Nighthawk. Yes, they've all been for auction or whatever. Or for like the whatever it was where they give them away, like that sponge. Well, there, I guess you could consider the SpongeBob one as another special edition because they were technically selling those in limited quantities on like that Best Buy Direct thing. I guess you could consider that one. But I have the Halo Infinite Series X, which is great. I sold my OG Series X and got that one. It was October 2023. A Japanese analyst said Sony inflates numbers. They have warehouses full of consoles. Yeah, I mean, what we do know they have warehouses full of is the PlayStation VR 2, as they've literally come out and said that they need to stop production on them because they have not been able to move them, which is sad. I have a PSVR 2. I barely used it. I used it when it first came out, and there's just no. I was hoping they would put out a bunch of first party stuff, and I'm every time I talk about the PSVR 2, I'm like, the headset's great. Like the tech in it is great. The controllers are great. It's a good headset. There's just no games for it. Yeah, the Series X doesn't need a mid-gen. That's why I'm thinking a smart mid-gen for Xbox, if they were going to do anything, wouldn't be a digital Series X. It would be a handheld with the benchmark of the Series S, right? Put that out. Devs don't have to develop for a brand new product, and they've just basically continue to make the same games. Then you have a fully unique piece of hardware that plays everything that Xbox plays. Your bought catalog and your Game Pass catalog. GT7 on PSVR 2 is great. I will say that it is good. That is an immersive experience, but that's why I am excited that they are testing it out for PC and bringing it to PC, because I don't want that headset just to collect dust, because it is good. So if I can start getting PC VR games, that will be awesome. Hope GTA 6 runs well on the Series X. It will run at 30 frames per second. It will run well at 30 frames per second. That's me. I want to play Half-Life Alyx. So if the PSVR 2 works on PC and I can play that, great. That's what I'm hoping. That is what I'm hoping. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a night here. I got to get to bed. But I appreciate everyone coming out, hanging out, talking games. I have a video coming out tomorrow as usual, and I will have videos throughout the week. And make sure to check those out, as well as I'll be live again. Well, wait, is next Sunday? Next Sunday is tentative. If I'll be live or not, because I believe next Sunday is Easter, so I have lots of stuff going on. But I will try to get live to next Sunday. If not, then I will, of course, still have all my videos and stuff. But I appreciate you all coming out. Thank you for all the support. Lotus as well. Again, thank you for the crazy support on today's stream. And yeah, we'll talk news. I'll see you guys in my videos, and I'll see you guys next time I'm live. But everyone have a good night. Have a good week, and enjoy yourself.